megabytes. Ours was like 30, and I was like, oh, sorry. Perfect. Whatever.
All right, we get started whenever you're ready.
1, 2, 3. 2, 1, 5. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Grassi. I'm Amanda.
Frankie Verdi.
Kyle Wenzel.
And we're here today to talk to you guys about interviewing for a little bit.
Tony's phone. Take a second.
So the first thing we're going to start talking about is resumes real fast. I know we talked about this a lot in class, so we're just going to touch on it because the most important way to get an interview is through a resume. Your resume is basically aimed directly for the purpose of landing that interview with the company that you want. So when you are writing your resume, just make sure that it matches the job description. Once you do land that interview, the next important thing to do is just the research behind it. So know what the company needs from you, know what they want from you, research what happens, what your everyday tasks will be versus what your actual resume is saying. Be really good with your resume so that when questions come up, you can go and reference back to that knowledge. And then next, just look at what the company's everyday questions are. You can Google that. For instance, when I was going for my interview with Enterprise, I always looked at what are the 5 most common question Enterprise answers. So then when I went into the interview, I was prepared. That's a great way to look at what to look for an interview. Next, we're going to talk about fashion. So fashion, we're first going to start with men on what to do. So the first thing you want to do for men is make sure you guys have a suit and tie. Suit and tie is very, very important. Make sure it's the correct colors of black, gray, or black and gray, or navy. If you want, those are the basic colors. Make sure that these suits are tailored. Being tailored is very, very important. Most of the time when people look at when you walk in, it's not really how expensive the suit is, but it's how well it fits you. So if you look nice and you walk in, you'll feel better. There'll be more of a confidence level there to begin with. So just make sure you have a suit that you're comfortable in that's tailored right to you. If you want to pop a color, the best way to do that is through a nice tie. A conversational tie will definitely help you, so it'll keep you just something to talk about, keep you confident, ready, show off a little bit more of your personality. Again, is not for, you're not trying to shock them through what you wear, but by your knowledge, so that's the only thing you can really do for that. The other thing is the shoes. Make sure the shoes are an Oxford, a loafer, or wingtip shoes, because those 3 shoes are just very well liked by employers, and they match almost with every type of suit. Make sure there's no scuffs or marks with them. Now we're going to talk about some of the don'ts. So again, make sure your suits aren't too tight. As you can see in the picture, don't make it too tight around the chest, the waist, anything. The one all the way on the left is how it should look nice and comfortable, and you can move in it, but it still fits with the right length and right colors. So just make sure you're very mindful of that. And also with the jewelry, try not to wear anything very big and bulky like that. If you wanted to put on jewelry, if you're married, a wedding ring or a nice watch that you have, but besides that, try to leave it at home. And don't go fuzzy. Don't go like our friend from Harry Potter. Make sure that you get a haircut and a nice clean shave. Lastly, don't blow the budget. Suits can be expensive. There are other ways to get a suit than going to the most expensive place around. Go to some thrift stores or get something that's not as nice and go to a tailor and get it tailored. Because again, how it fits you is better than the price of what it actually is. And lastly, sometimes this is hard to know everything. So if you have questions, ask someone. If you don't know, ask someone. Someone can tell you, yeah, it looks great. No, it doesn't. Make sure it's someone that's honest, that'll tell you what to wear and what not to wear when you try things on and show them. And then not only will you feel more comfortable in it, but someone else would be there too to give you more comfortable ways too, so that you just know what you're going is great. So now we're going to go on the women's side of it. We have more options to play with, but just try to remember to stay on the conservative side. Don't wear anything that doesn't fit right, doesn't look right, you're not comfortable in, it's too tight, anything like that. Just stay on the conservative side with the pantsuit, dresses, pencil skirts. It's about showing what your ability is, not about what you're wearing. If you wanted to throw a pop of color in there, women, we can. We can go with whatever color is most flattering for us. So try to figure out what looks good, what doesn't. You can throw in the purples, you could throw in the reds, you can throw in the oranges if you want to. If you really, really don't know, the best color you could do if you want to go away from blacks and grays is navies. Navy right now is the new black for women, so if you wanted to wear navy, go for it. It's great. You can throw it in with anything you have, even if you do have your regular black suit or gray suit, as I'm doing right now. I have the gray pants with the navy shirt. It works. It just is a better way to spice up the colors. Another thing is just fit for the job. Make sure you wear what the job is entailing. Fit paired if you're going to want to be a CEO of something, just as if you're going to be a CEO. If you're going to want to do something else, just like that. Everything's different. Make sure your heels or shoes look nice. Flash it in. Then also look at the industry. What your industry wears is very important. The way you would dress for a technician is different than what you would dress for a bank. So make sure you're aware of that, because we do have a lot more options than men. You just need to really do your homework with things like that. And that goes back to the research part. Another tip of advice is the basic needs that you're going to have, like the blazers and the dress pants. Maybe you could buy something that's a little bit better quality, because you're always going to wear them. You could always reference to them. So it might be worth spending a few extra bucks just because it's versatile with everything that women need. And now we're going to go to the don'ts. Put the sandals for the beach. Don't walk into them with an interview. No, there's a lot of things that are not okay for us to do. For instance, don't wear something that's too tight, too revealing. Don't wear no stockings if you're going to wear a shirt, and don't wear the open-toed shoes. Everything like that can throw something off. Lastly, another thing is don't think you just have to wear black and white. Like I said, for women, we can wear more colors than that, so try to figure out what fits you. Don't stick to the basic. We can pop, we can do things like that, where unfortunately men kind of have that standard of black, white, and grays. But for women, we can really throw in our color. Get rid of the designer things. Don't come in with your Louis Vuitton bag or Michael Kors watches. Come in with things that are very casual and conservative. You want to stand out for what you have to offer and your skills, not how much money you have and what you can buy and how you can flash. Sometimes less is more with things like that, and this is exactly the time when. Again, another very important thing, never go too casual. Ripped jeans for the weekend. Leave them in your closet for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. If you can go out Thursday nights, if you can't, leave them there too. Go on, you always want to be dressed more business professional than less. You can never go too much. So if anything, if it's a casual business, go business casual. If it's business casual, go professional. Whatever, just do the always step up. Don't wear anything that's too tight, that bulges. Jackets should fit you comfortably. They shouldn't pop out. You should be able to sit in them without feeling like they're gonna rip. Just anything that you're comfortable in. It's better to be cute, comfortable, and professional than uncomfortable. Again, for women, if you have any questions, ask someone. Women, we do this all the time, just with our everyday wear. It's okay to do it too with your interview clothes. So I hope this helped you a little bit. So we're gonna switch over to our new topic by Kyle.
All right, so now we're gonna actually go into the interview. So welcome to the interview. You're finally showing up. You're showing up in your attire that you already know about. You're dressed to perfection, you're ready to go. So you need to, first of all, get there. So now one of the most important things about getting there is really getting there on time. And time isn't really just showing up, okay, the interview's at 2 o'clock. You need to be there at 2 o'clock. No, you should really be there 10 to 15 minutes early. Any earlier than that, you're kind of sitting around too long. Anything later than that, it's kind of, you lack discipline in your time. It's really better to get there 15 minutes early to really prepare. So now handshakes, we talked a lot about that in class. So obviously you don't want a death grip. But yet you don't want a dead fish. You want to be able to just have a firm handshake, couple pumps like we mentioned in class. You don't want, if you have sweaty palms, it's okay, it happens. But you want a firm handshake, smile at the person in front of you. That's what you want. So now, one of the things in the interview is they'll offer you a water, maybe some food. I don't usually recommend taking the food because sometimes people can be a little messy. They have bad manners, things like that. Taking a water, there's nothing really wrong with that. Plus, it could help you in the long run, maybe if you need one later. So then tell me about yourself. One of the questions that so many interviewers ask, and it's so difficult because you don't want to say all these great things about yourself because sometimes you don't like to gloat, but yet it's one of those things where you really do need to talk about yourself because you want to show your confidence to them. You don't want them to be like, oh, this person doesn't really know anything about themselves. So now when you're sitting there and you're talking about it all, you have to have good posture. You can't be slouched over. You can't be, eyes gazing around the person. You need to be up straight. You need to be up and forward to them, have good body language all to your interviewer, because then it just exudes confidence on wide scales. And then that brings me right into more about the confidence. So you don't want to seem nervous. You don't want to have a breaking voice. You don't want to lose your train of thought. Obviously, it happens. It's okay. But you want to have that main amount of confidence as possible to show that you're ready for this job that you're interviewing for. It's really a crucial part. So then in order to do that, you often have to relax. It's not an interrogation. You're not getting beat up by Batman. Okay? It is really very simple. You just need to take a deep breath, realize the situation you're in, and the person in front of you is human too. You might make a mistake. They're not going to judge you forever about it. It happens. So really, just don't freak out. It's okay. Just take it one step at a time. So now you get in this tough situation and you need a drink of water. Okay? Take the drink. Think about what you're going to say next. Obviously, don't drink it real weird. You don't also want to spit it out, dribble it on anything. So try your best to just take a sip, think about it, reset, and back to it. So now you don't want to be too conceited when you're talking about yourself. Don't be like, oh, I'm the greatest person that's ever walked in here. I can't wait to take over your job in management. You're walking in, you're taking a job. You're taking a job opportunity that they're giving to you. They're not saying, oh yeah, you're going to take my job now. That's just not how it works. So then you also need to be appealing yourself to the job. So if you need to be a people person, well, then you can't hate people. It's pretty simple. If you're having a conversation and you're getting mad at the person for asking you something, you don't really have good personal relations. And that could be a real issue, especially if that's part of the huge part of the job. So now, walking interviews. A lot of the times, interviewers like to take walks around with them to show the facilities and things like that. It's normal. I've had it myself. It actually kind of helps a little bit. You can move your eyes around. You can really ask a question rather than sitting in a room only looking at this person. And then don't be afraid to ask those questions while you're on an interview, especially walking interviews. When you see something that you don't really know about, it's really good to just ask a question, diffuse the conversation, really does bring the attention off of you and more on what they're offering. So then another thing when you ask these questions is taking notes. So when you take these notes, obviously you want to know what you probably wouldn't remember or what you think is extremely important. So things like job hours, if it's different times that you're going to be working, attire that you're going to need, maybe something's a little different on Fridays, and you just need to really write it down. Obviously other benefits, pays, payments, things like that. Resumes, know your resume. Do not walk into an interview with something on your resume that says, oh, I'm excellent at Excel. And next thing you know, they ask you a question about pivot tables, and you have no idea what you're doing. Because if they test you on that, now you look like a liar, and they don't trust you. So then they won't hire you. So then pretty much just, you always want to have good manners with the person. You don't want to get mad at them for asking you something. It was just kind of like with the relaxed slide earlier. Really, you want to calm down. You want to have manners with them. You want to show that you are truly a good person and a good fit. So then, this is my current job at Riverwinds Community Center. It's funny because I had an interview in a very weird situation. They have a gym there, and I was working out. And on my way out, the general manager grabbed me. So now I'm sweaty, and I'm having an interview for a job, and I'm tired. I want to go home. I want to eat. But no, now I have an interview, and I'm sweaty. So it's different, but at the same time, it was relaxing because you weren't as stressed out. There wasn't a time that I had to meet him. There wasn't anything like that. It was very relaxed because of that, even though it was unconventional. However, with my current job at Drano Properties, which I'm going to be getting in the summer, I had to go through weeks of scheduling just to even get an interview. And then getting the interview was obviously a job in itself. But we did the walking interview, which was really cool. That helped me a lot. But when I was in a room with 4 other people, and they were all just shooting questions at me nonstop. So that's one of those times where it gets really stressful, and you need to just take a step back, and really just calm down, because it's just one of those things where you really do get overwhelmed. So when you get used to these formal interviews, which you will, because they will happen more often than not, you just need to take a step back. So now we're going to hand it over to Frankie.
Thanks, Kyle. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about the interview and what to do after the interview. First off, know your company, know what you're getting yourself into, know what you're going to just be expected to know. Give it a second here. Let me talk about the ins and outs. So when you're going for the interview, I'm going to use Apple as an example. Everybody knows Apple. Everybody knows Apple laptops, Apple iPads, Apple phones, all this and that. But you need to do a little bit more research. You need to get into more depth. You need to know where the batteries come from, how to get the software, how they do this, how they do that. Just looks more professional in that sense. Interests. So basically, you need to go in there and be interested. Don't act like, oh, I'm here for the interview. My name's Frankie. Go in there with energy. Yeah, I'm here for the interview. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Show an interest. How you doing? Good. Next, we're going to talk about responding to the question. And how you going to do this? In today's, all of us, college kids, high school kids, middle schoolers, we all have this slang. And, that is not what you're going to go in there. You're not going to be like, oh, yeah, dude, hell yeah, I can't wait to do this, that. You're going to go in there and be business professional. Yes, sir. No, sir. Not. Yup. Nope. Nothing like that. It just looks tech. Next, self-confidence. I say confidence, not cocky. So you're going to go in there and you're going to be confident. You're going to answer with, like, you got, oh, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm happy to be here. I think I could do that. It's a great opportunity for me. Thanks for having me. I'm not going to go in there like, oh, yeah, I can do that in my sleep. That's too easy for me. Give me something else. That's another thing that just looks tacky. Next, you go on to keywords. While you're answering these questions, try to remember a few keywords. I put trust, motivation, excited, as Jonah Hill is up there. Talk about, again, you're excited to be here. You're happy to be here, to have this opportunity. Talk about how motivated you are to make this money, to do this and that. And while answering these questions, obviously keep your eye contact. And I say this because some people could have it's like a middle ground. If you're staring into someone's soul like this, you're looking at them the entire time, you're going to feel intimidated. Somebody's going to feel intimidated. You're not going to be looking at the ground the whole time, because then you're going to be like, oh, he's not interested in the job. Why would they have him here? And then we go on to not knowing an answer to a question. Personally, this has actually happened to me, and I was just sitting there dumbfounded, just stuck, frozen. Didn't know what to say. But you got to relax, take a breath, and answer that question like, oh, yeah, I would love to figure out how to do this for you. Take steps to figure out how to get that answer. Again, like I just said, take a deep breath. And I don't mean, in the middle of the interview, you're breathing heavy, you just went on a jog. In through the nose, out through the mouth, real quick, get your head together, get back in the zone, get focused and ready for the next question. In this part, this is where you want to sell yourself. You want to sell yourself better than the person before you and the person after you. You want to be remembered. This is the part of the interview that the interviewer is going to look back at and say, oh yeah, I like that kid. There's this and that I liked about him. Sell yourself. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to talk about your strengths. And I say just your strengths because, if you start talking about your weaknesses, you want to keep the interview positive. Don't ever talk about a weakness unless asked about it. And even at that point, say something like, that's really not that big of a weakness. That's just like, oh yeah, I'm not that good at writing, or I don't have that good at handwriting. Talk about your self-image. The reason I say this is because you don't want to be that guy that nobody wants to work with. You want to be that guy that everybody's excited to work with, everyone wants to make money with, everybody wants to be grouped up with, everybody wants to communicate with. Next, we go on to better yourself. And what I say about this is, or what I mean by this is, when you're going to have an interview, you're talking about how you can better the company. Talk about how the company can better you. You know what I mean? Like, say you're not that good at groups, or you have communication skills that aren't that good. You can't get up here in front of class and talk to somebody, like something like that. It'll break you out of your shell. Talk about that. Then next we have traits. Now I say in an interview, for your interviewer to remember you by 4 or 5 distinct traits. And the reason for this is because say you're the last 2 people that are able to get the job, like you made it to the final cut. If he remembers that 1 or 2 traits about you that he really, really, really liked, you have that slight edge over that other interview. Now, winding down to the end, talk about personal information. Is there anything else that you could tell him? Like, ask him personally, is there anything else you'd like to know about me? And if not, flip the switch on him. Say, is there anything that I should know about you? Because who knows, you could be working with this guy for 30 years. You know, if there's something that he will tell you, it could help you in the long run. And again, like Kyle stated, handshakes. Handshakes are very, very important. If I'm leaving the interview, you want something firm, maintain eye contact. Nothing weak fish, dead fish, nothing like that. Doesn't look good. And at this point, interview's pretty much over. Shook his hand, blah, blah, blah. Asked about the next step. What is the next step? Now, don't come off, as you need this job. This is the only thing that you got in your life going for you right now. You say real casual, hey, thanks for having me. Is there any, should I be waiting for an email or a call from you the next week or two? What's the next step? Now, if you haven't heard back in a week, they say, don't email them 2 days after, a day after, wait a week. You can contact them, email them, call them, whatever you want to do, just to, say, hey, what's going on? Get your head wrapped around, if they want you, if they don't want you, there's a follow-up interview, blah, blah, blah. Same goes for a month, but personally at this point, a month later, if they haven't gotten back to you, in my perspective, I'd be going down a different path. I'd be trying to find something else to do. But again, if it's really what you want to pursue, you can wait a month, call them, email them again, see what they want to do. And my last slide here, I say get the call. So this could happen 10 minutes after the interview, a week, a month, whatever. This is the point of where you got the job pretty much. They want you to come in for a follow-up interview or come in for training. And I'm going to pass to Amanda, and she's going to finish it off.
All right, guys, so I'm actually going to talk to you about what it's like to conduct an interview. Obviously, it's very important to know what to do before, during, and after interview, but I find that sometimes we're often so focused on that we forget about what's happened once we've progressed within our careers, and then we're now asked to be a part of that hiring process, which is very important. So over this past summer, I was an executive intern at the Target in Turnersville, which is not too far from here, and I learned how to be a manager. So while I was there, I worked in various different departments, learning about all the things in Target. But one thing that I really liked that I did was I got to work in HR, and I actually got to interview and hire individuals, which was very exciting. So based on my actual experience of interviewing people and working with them, I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks on what to do while actually conducting an interview, because it's very important that when you're doing that, you hire the right person for the job and you know what to look for while doing this. So one of the first things that you're going to do is you're going to want to make sure that you're very prepared for what's going on. So what I like to do is I like to sit down and actually look at the person's resume, any paperwork that they might have actually filled out, and just become familiar with not only them, but the position that they're applying for. It also becomes easier after doing that to ask them questions during the interview as well. You're not just looking at the paper the whole time, and you know a little bit more about them. First thing is to be on time. So just as we've stated before, you want to be on time for your interview. It's important that when someone's coming to your office, that you're on time, because you want to show that person that you not only respect them, but you respect the time and effort that they've taken out of their day to come in to visit you. It's also, again, a first impression. So if you make them wait half an hour or 40 minutes after the allotted time, they're going to remember that. The next thing is to understand the nature of the interview. So today, interviews aren't just conducted in person. They're also conducted over the phone, and they're also conducted virtually over webcams or FaceTime. So it's very important that if you're going to do something like that, you're really aware of the connectivity and the technical issues that can happen. And you also want to make sure that after even that's done, you want to make sure that you have the correct contact information for that person. So the next thing is to put the candidate at ease. And what you want to do is, obviously, like we talked about, you're very nervous, and you want to make sure that after you shake their hand and greet them, that they're okay. Maybe ask them a friendly question like, hey, I saw you grew up in this town, so did I. Or you have this in your resume. I've had something similar in mine as well, just to make them feel more at home. The next thing is to not allow any interruptions. So at Target, we were very, very busy, and we had walkie-talkies. So what I like to do is I like to silence my walkie-talkie, but you also want to silence maybe pagers, cell phones, things of that nature. Maybe even put a sign on your door so that other employees know not to bother you unless it's a serious emergency, so that you can give your undivided and full attention to that candidate who is interviewing with you. The next thing is to know what questions to ask. So with different positions come actually different questions and different procedures, and it helps not to be caught off guard
important to be aware of all those things that you're going to have to ask them during the interview. So for example, at Target, we had all different positions that people could apply for. So one of the things that I had to do was interview someone for our style team. And part of that interview actually included me taking her out onto the floor and acting as a customer and having her show me how to find an outfit for an interview. I interviewed someone for our beauty team, and I had them again go out on the floor with me and find me substitutes for a product that we actually didn't carry on our shelf. So it gained, more insight on them. The next thing is to know what questions you cannot ask. So there are legally certain questions you're not allowed to ask during an interview, and it's very important that you're aware of that before you go into this interview. You want to make sure that you don't get in trouble, but also that you create a comfortable and safe environment for your candidate, that they don't feel intimidated or uncomfortable at all during the process. So some examples of these questions that you can ask, you can't just straight up say, hey, do you have a disability? But you could ask, are you able to perform the essential functions of this job with or without reasonable accommodation? You can say, do you have kids or are planning to have kids? But you can say, this job requires a lot of travel, a lot of overtime. Are you able to work around that and do something like that as well? So it gives more insight on that. The next thing is to ask questions about behaviors. So although you want to make sure that you ask questions specific to the position that the person is applying for, you really want to make sure that you get a sense of not only their personality, but their work ethic in the workplace, and to make sure that they'll fit within the environment of your company. So examples of some of those questions that you might be able to ask are, did you receive any awards at your last job? So if they go above and beyond. You can ask them how many days of work they missed. So you can see how they focus on attendance. You could also even ask them if they've had any alcohol, tobacco, or drug violations. So you know that if they came to work drunk or high once, and that's something that you probably would like to know. So that's important. The next thing is to make eye contact, and that really should go without being said, but I actually attended an interview where the lady looked at her computer most of the time and didn't look at me, and I kind of felt like she wasn't engaging with me, and then she didn't care as much. So it's really important that you thoroughly, not get in a creepy way, but just look at the person so that you know that they care about them and everything that they're trying to say. And the next thing is to be a good listener. So although you're going to be asking a lot of questions, you're going to also want to be evaluating this person's feedback and what they have to say. So it's very important that while the person's talking, you let them listen, you're thoroughly paying attention, and you're evaluating them based on what they've come into the room with and all of the skills and knowledge that they have. And the next thing is to put all biases aside and to keep an open mind. This is very important. So for example, if somebody comes in and the lady is pregnant and you think maybe she won't be able to work overtime or travel because she has kids, you have to just take that idea completely out of your head and just evaluate her or anybody else based on their knowledge, their skills, and how they've come in and how they've presented themselves. The next thing is to take notes. So obviously you're not going to remember every single thing that this person has said, and you might want to look back later and compare maybe what they've said with other candidates, or even just maybe you forgot something and you want to evaluate them again. So it's important as they're talking to take notes on their responses and to take notes on maybe things that are key that you're looking for. So the last thing to do is prepare the candidate for the follow-up. So again, like Frankie said, maybe you'll just say it first, but you'll say, hey, thank you for coming, shake their hand. Maybe we'll get back to you within a week, maybe this amount of days. And you can expect a call or an email from us. What's your preferred method of contact? And again, thank them for their time so that they know that, you cared about them coming in. So in conclusion, it's obviously very important to know what to do before, during, and after an interview, but also how to conduct an interview. It's a very important part of the hiring process because you as an individual want to make sure that you're going for the right job and that the job is a good fit for you. And you also want to make sure as an employer that you're finding somebody who is going to be a good fit for you and for your company. So thank you, everyone.
Cool. Good job. Good job, Frankie.
All right, excellent. Excellent. Got two of my favorite colors up there, right? This, my orange and my turquoise. I do love that. Okay, so let me